Hey everybody, it's Mr. Wolfie, and I am here today to talk about a very important topic. And we've addressed this in other videos discussing guns, bullet types, that sort of thing. And I'm not an expert by any means, but I have done my research because I do own several guns. And I did a lot of research to make sure that I owned the guns that I wanted to own, that sort of thing. So, I know a little bit. And recently there was a very tragic, it was the worst mass shooting in American history, if I'm not mistaken, if that's the information that I've obtained is correct. And it was a guy that some people, I don't want to speculate too much, I'm just saying what I have heard so far. You know, this guy apparently was, I don't know if he was in the closet or whatever, but he was a guy that practiced the Islamic religion and hated gay people, and or may have been a gay person secretly and was very angry about it or something. And anyway, he shot up a gay nightclub in Orlando, and it was bad. It was 50 people died, 50 something others were injured. It was a mess, and so that was pretty tragic. And at the end of the day, it was just to make a statement. You know, that's the kind of world we're living in right now, where people are violent just to make a statement, because for one thing, they know it's going to be broadcast on all the news, on all the social media, and everything, and so they have no reservations about doing the biggest, most absurd thing they can to get popular, get clicks, basically. I need to take my glasses off because it's actually making it hard to see in this room for some reason. I don't know. Anyway, so the problem is, okay, so here's the thing. Instead of making it about how, homophobia kills, how, extreme adherence to some sort of Islamic culture are dangerous, because that's kind of, of course, Islam as a religion is not the problem. It's the people that take some literal translations and some things from that other people have taught them about certain parts that are very dangerous, and they take it. When you say radical Islam, that's what they mean, is that they say, okay, so there's like 4 lines in here that say kill people, and that's the only thing we're going to listen to, kind of stuff. That's the point that people are trying to make, is why, you got a whole book that probably has some good stuff in it. I've read some of it just as research, and and then they just take the bad stuff from it and use that as an excuse to kill the crap out of people in horrible, violent, terrible ways, and to hate people and just all that stuff. And instead of having a conversation about that, instead of having a conversation about what was this guy's problem in the first place, why did he just decide to do this, and like what caused this sort of thing to manifest in him, what were the circumstances that led up to him buying a gun legally when he was apparently on an FBI watch list for some behavior like this. It's just, there's all these questions that need answering, but the one thing that people latched onto and attacked was, we need to get rid of the AR-15 because he had one in the shooting. So, okay, he had an AR-15, there was an AR-15 in the, there was another shooting. Which one was it? Which one had the AR? Anyway, there was the San Bernardino, I think. So, the AR-15, let me explain that rifle to you for a minute. It is not an assault rifle. AR stands for Armalite rifle. It's basically a brand name, or a weapon type, basically. It is not a assault rifle by the legal federal definition, because it's not automatic. It's semi-automatic, which means it fires as fast as you pull the trigger. I have a semi-automatic pistol. Most people these days that own guns, the majority of them have at least one semi-automatic weapon, whether it's a rifle. Some people have shotguns that are semi-automatic. Most people that have a semi-automatic weapon are pistol related, because they're just common. So it just fires as fast as you pull the trigger. So the mechanism in there, as soon as you pull the trigger and the weapon mechanism, the firing pin fires the bullet, it basically recoils, reloads the bullet, so that when you pull it again, it just keeps doing it. So there's lots of weapons that do that. I'm not personally a fan of semi-automatic. I'm not interested in firing off. Well, let me get to that in a minute. I can fire a lever action or a single action or even, various types of non-semi-automatic weapons. I can fire them pretty fast because I practice with them. So it's not like it's impossible to just with certain types of guns. But semi-automatics make somebody that's not very knowledgeable about guns, not very good with guns, they can just sort of just start spamming and, they can do some damage with that sort of thing. So I could see the argument being made there, and we'll get to that in a minute, that people want to restrict that sort of thing, but they don't understand just how common they are. So the AR-15, traditionally, like the standard model, you can get it bored for, or get, various attachments. You can get it chambered for all kinds of different caliber types. The major caliber type is .223, which is also referred to as .556 ammunition. And it's a little rifle shell. I don't own a .223, so it's a little rifle shell, not much bigger. It's about the same length, maybe a little bit more than the shotgun shell. This is a 20 gauge shotgun shell. And the actual part of the metal that comes firing out isn't much bigger than a .22 round. It's sharpened. It's referred to as a varmint gun, which means it's designed specifically for killing small animals, for like hunting, things like, it's really not considered ethical to shoot much larger animals than like raccoons and stuff, because the larger the animal, the harder it is to get a one-shot kill with it. And in hunting terms, you don't want to just wound an animal and then have it run off and then either suffer for a while, or you can't even end up fighting it and it just goes to waste. So when you're hunting something like a deer, it's actually, it depends on where you are. It's usually restricted to use .223 ammo to hunt deer. And a deer, relatively, size comparison, is not even as big as a person. So the argument that the AR-15 is some kind of high-powered hand cannon of mass destruction is flawed in that aspect, because it's not even using an ammo type that is rated for killing animals our size. So that the argument really comes down to the fact that it usually has a banana clip, which is it's a magazine that can fire upwards of 30 bullets. So 30 bullets spamming the trigger about as fast as you can fire, yeah, that could do some damage. And that's the one argument I could see people making for restricting the sale of it, or maybe outright banning it. But I don't think they should ban it, because the rest of my argument is about to hinge on the fact that it makes no sense to ban things like this. Because, okay, the #1 bullet type statistically for killing human beings in the United States is the 9mm. And I have a 9mm full metal jacket and 9mm hollow point. The thing is, over 60% of gun deaths in the United States yearly are attributed to suicides or accidents involving your weapons. So when you factor in the fact that most of the people getting killed are getting killed with 9mm, it's because, that kind of thing. Or it's because military, or local military, police forces, and generally, if somebody's carrying like a handgun, like a concealed handgun, it is a 9mm. It's just common. It's just like how the AR-15 is sort of common. It's actually really expensive. It's like it's really hard to find one for under $800. So it's not like you're just going to walk in and throw down an afternoon's pay and be like, hey, let me get one of them, and I'll just walk out and no, it's actually kind of complicated. You have to put some money down to buy an AR-15. So anyway, and actually any kind of gun right now, there's you can get a pretty good gun for about $300, but it's not going to be like some weapon of mass destruction probably. But anyway, it goes back to correlation does not imply causation. Just because 9mm bullets are the most commonly used to kill people in the United States doesn't mean that 9mm bullets are more dangerous than 45s or 30-30s or anything like that. There's just a ton of bullet types that are bigger and stronger than the .223. There are actually a lot of bullet types that are bigger and stronger than the 9mm. Those are just what are used in these shooting events because of, I don't know, maybe it's the commonness of the weapon, maybe it's the popularity of the weapon, maybe it's the simplicity of use. There's lots of factors. It's not because, boom, these are high-powered, most deadly weapon known to man kind of thing. They're not nukes, okay? You could kill somebody with 22 ammunition and they're like teeny. It's circumstances. There's more factors involved here than just, we need to ban this exact gun because it's the one that's dangerous. No, all guns are dangerous. You've got to understand that there's more factors involved here than just a type of weapon. So a ban on AR-15 is silly. Also because a ton of people already own them. So what are you going to do? You're going to go out and confiscate every gun that falls into your category of what is too dangerous for people to own? I don't think that's a smart idea. Because usually if a person owns an AR-15, they're the type of person that doesn't intend to give up an AR-15, especially to the government. Now, I'm not interested in it. Like I said, I love cowboy action. I have a single action revolver that's probably my favorite gun that I have. I have a lever action rifle, and I have a 9mm semi-automatic pistol. And then a single shot shotgun. That's just what I have. So, the thing is, this is what's so stupid, is that people jump on the argument that we have to ban guns, we have to ban this type of gun, we have to ban that type of gun, we have to just ban them all because people can't be trusted with guns. People have been using guns for a few hundred years. People have been killing people for hundreds of thousands of years very effectively with things that aren't guns. And it's not like, oh, we'll take away guns and people won't be dangerous anymore. No. There's always something that's going to fill the void. If you take away the AR-15 and 9mm handguns, which is what they're probably going to be fighting to do, make it harder to do this and that, especially if a certain individual wins the presidency, they're going to be like, oh, we're going to be like Australia. People will still find a way to be violent. People are violent. We are just violent animals. That's what we are. That's how we got to this point in our evolution. We are violent animals. So, I need to put my glasses back on because now my eyes are hurting. So, the problem is that we're not having the right conversation. Why was this individual on an FBI watch list able to buy a gun legally? You're supposed to pass a background check. You have to pass a background check to buy any firearm in the United States from a reputable seller. So why was this guy able to buy an AR-15 and a 9mm handgun? Where did he get it from? Who did he buy it from is what we need to address. Because that person, or the FBI that put him on the watch list, or somebody dropped the ball as far as this guy should not have had these weapons in the first place, at least not legally. Now, he could have easily got them illegally because that's just the way the world works, but he should not have been able to just go in and buy it. Another thing, why did he get it? How on earth did he get it in that nightclub? Did somebody sneak it in for him and he pick it up? Did he carry it in there and just sit at the bar? Did somebody not check him at the door? Did he come in a back door? Something is wrong with this setup. Something here, it needs to be looked at objectively and logically and investigated. Something is fishy with this entire story. There's no reason this guy should have got in there with any of these weapons because this was a gun-free zone. You're not supposed to have guns in this nightclub. It goes back to, increasing gun laws are not going to affect what happened here or what's going to happen in the future. People are not having the right conversation. People are focusing on the guns. And the real reason people are focusing on the guns is because stupid people, like the ultra-progressive SJW type left, the first thing they did was, of course, like, oh, it was probably a right-wing Christian white guy. They're all violent towards gay people. And, they immediately changed that story when they found out he was actually an Islamic brown guy, not a white guy. I don't know what to... Yeah. And that he probably wasn't even straight. Literally the opposite of what they thought. And so the argument is still, in a lot of the online journals and stuff, is still arguing about how, right-wing Republican the NRA, all these people encouraged this guy to do, or somehow influenced this guy to do this, or somehow created this atmosphere where he was able to do it, when that is absolutely proven false by the fact that the rest of the world, this is happening. This happened in freaking France. France is far from right-wing. They're a socialist country with extreme gun laws, and still somebody got automatic weapons and shot up people. Islamic terrorism did that, and you did not make... I don't understand. I don't understand how people can make that argument with a straight face. They've got to be pushing some agenda. They don't actually believe it. They can't believe it because they're not that stupid. They can't be that stupid. People cannot be so stupid that they actually believe that. You can't. I just can't. I can't process that. The argument should be about how this happened, and then of course why it happened, but how this happened, because the how is going to determine whether or not this happens again. And people need to get understood. People need to really sit down and understand the fact that this wasn't just. I mean, this was a tragedy because it was a lot of LGBT people were murdered in a nightclub. But the main story here needs to be that, or well, I don't guess the main story. An equally important part of the story is the fact that 100 Americans were shot on American soil. And Islamic terrorism is actually a common occurrence, or a relatively common occurrence now, on U.S. soil. And somebody needs to address that. And somebody needs to actually get together and think about what that means. And of course, the government is trying to play the it's not about Islamic extremism, it's about guns cards, because that's just what they do. It's just all, it bothers me. As a pretty strong libertarian, this entire situation is offensive to me, because those people weren't doing anything but minding their own business, just having a good night, having some fun. A lot of them probably never hurt anybody in their lives, and boom, this guy just walks in and starts mowing them down because he wanted to make a statement, or he had some sort of personal problems, or there's no telling what. I don't know enough about the guy to know. And no one's talking about that. No one's taking the... well, I mean, of course people are talking about it, but nobody at the forefront of where you're seeing the news is really sitting down and saying, how did this happen? Anyway, guys, peace out. This has been Mr. Wolfie. Love you guys.